Majestic-12 Group Special Operations Manual. Extraterrestrial Entities and Technology, Recovery and Disposal. Top Secret Magic. Eyes Only. Warning: this is a top-secret Magic Eyes Only document containing compartmentalized information essential to the national security of the United States. Eyes-only access to the material herein is strictly limited to personnel possessing Majestic-12 clearance level. Examination or use by unauthorized personnel is strictly forbidden and is punishable by federal law. Chapter 1. Operation Majestic-12. Section 1. Project Purpose and Goals. 1. Scope. This manual has been prepared especially for Majestic-12 units. Its purpose is to present all aspects of Majestic-12 so authorized personnel will have a better understanding of the goals of the group, be able to more expertly deal with unidentified flying objects, extraterrestrial technology and entities, and increase the efficiency of future operations. 2. General. MJ-12 takes the subject of the UFOBs, extraterrestrial technology, and extraterrestrial biological entities very seriously and considers the entire subject to be a matter of the very highest national security. For that reason, everything relating to the subject has been assigned the very highest security classification. 3 main points will be covered in this section. A. The general aspects of MJ-12 to clear up any misconceptions that anyone may have. B. The importance of the operations. C. The need for absolute secrecy in all phases of operations. 3. Security classification. All information relating to MJ-12 has been classified Magic Eyes Only and carries a security level 2 points above that of Top Secret. The reason for this has to do with the consequences that may arise not only from the impact upon the public should the existence of such matters become general knowledge, but also the danger of having such advanced technology as has been recovered by the Air Force fall into the hands of unfriendly foreign powers. No information is released to the public press, and the official government position is that no special group such as MJ-12 exists. 4. History of the group. Operation Majestic-12 was established by a special classified presidential order on 24 September 1947 at the recommendation of Secretary of Defense James V. Forrestal and Dr. Vannevar Bush, chairman of the Joint Research and Development Board. Operations are carried out under a top-secret research and development intelligence group directly responsible only to the President of the United States. The goals of the MJ-12 group are as follows. A. The recovery for scientific study of all materials and devices of a foreign or extraterrestrial manufacture that may become available. Such material and devices will be recovered by any and all means deemed necessary by the group. B. The recovery for scientific study of all entities and remains of entities not of terrestrial origin, which may become available through independent action by those entities or by misfortune or military action. C. The establishment and administration of special teams to accomplish the above. Operations. D. The establishment and administration of special secure facilities located at secret locations within the continental borders of the United States for the receiving, processing, analysis, and scientific study of any and all materials and entities classified as being of extraterrestrial origin by the group of these special teams. E. Establishment and administration of covert operations to be carried out in concert with Central Intelligence to effect the recovery for the United States of extraterrestrial technology and entities which may come down inside the territory of or fall into the possession of foreign powers. F. the establishment and maintenance of absolute top secrecy concerning all the above operations. 5. Current situation. It is considered, as far as the current situation is concerned, that there are few indications that these objects and their builders pose a direct threat to the security of the United States, despite the uncertainty as to their ultimate motives in coming here. Certainly, the technology possessed by these beings far surpasses anything known to modern science. Yet their presence here seems to be benign, and they seem to be avoiding contact with our species, at least for the present. Several dead entities have been recovered along with a substantial amount of wreckage and devices from downed craft, all of which are now under study at various locations. No attempts has been made by extraterrestrial entities either to contact authorities or to recover their dead counterparts or the downed craft, even though one of the crashes was the result of direct military action. The greatest threat at this time arises from the acquisition and study of such advanced technology by foreign powers unfriendly to the United States. It is for this reason that the recovery and study of this type of material by the United States has been given such a high priority. Chapter 2. Introduction. Section 1. General. 6. Scope. A. This operation manual was published for the information and guidance of all concerned. It contains information on determination, documentation, collection, and disposition of debris, devices, craft, and occupants of such craft as defined as extraterrestrial technology or extraterrestrial biological entities, EBEs, in Section 2 of this chapter. B. Appendix 1-1A contains a list of current references, including technical manuals and other available publications applicable to these operations. C. Appendix 2 contains a list of personnel who comprise the Majestic-12 group. 7. Forms and records. Forms used for reporting operation are listed in Appendix 1. Section 2. Definition and data. 8. General. Extraterrestrial technology is defined as follows. A. Aircraft identified as not manufactured in the United States or any terrestrial foreign powers, including experimental military or civilian aircraft. Aircraft in this category are generally known as unidentified flying objects, or UFOBs. Such aircraft may appear as one of several shapes and configurations and exhibit extraordinary flight characteristics. B. Objects and devices of unknown origin or function, manufactured by processes or of materials not consistent with current technology or scientific knowledge. C. Wreckage of any aircraft thought to be of extraterrestrial manufacture or origin. Such wreckage may be the results of accidents or military action. D. Materials that exhibit unusual or extraordinary characteristics not consistent with current technology or scientific knowledge. Extraterrestrial biological entities, EBEs, are described as A. Creatures, humanoids or otherwise, whose evolutionary processes responsible for their development are demonstrably different from those postulated or observed in Homo sapiens. 9. Description of craft. Documented extraterrestrial craft, UFOBs, are classified in one of 4 categories based on general shape, as follows. A. Elliptical, or disc shape. This type of craft is of a metallic construction and dull aluminum in color. They have the appearance of 2 pie pans or shallow dishes pressed together and may have a raised dome on the top or bottom. No seams or joints are visible on the surface, giving the impression of one-piece construction. Discs are estimated from 50 to 300 feet in diameter and the thickness is approximately 15% of the diameter, not including the dome, which is 30% of the disk diameter and extends another 4 to 6 feet above the main body of the disk. The dome may or may not include windows or ports, and ports are present around the lower rim of the disk in some instances. Most disc-shaped craft are equipped with lights on the top and bottom, and also around the rim. These lights are not visible when the craft is at rest or not functioning. There are generally no visible antennae or projections. Landing gear consists of 3 extendable legs ending in circular landing pads. When fully extended, this landing gear supports the main body 2 to 3 feet above the surface at the lowest point. A rectangular hatch is located along the equator or on the lower surface of the disk. B. Fuselage or cigar shape. Documented reports of this type of craft are extremely rare. Air Force radar reports indicate they are approximately 2,000 feet long and 95 feet thick, and apparently they do not operate in the lower atmosphere. Very little information is available on the performance of these craft, but radar reports have indicated speeds in excess of 7,000 miles per hour. They do not appear to engage in the violent and erratic maneuvers associated with smaller types. C. Ovoid or circular shape. This type of craft is described as being shaped like an ice cream cone, being rounded at the large end and tapering to a near point at the other end. They are approximately 30 to 40 feet long, and the thick end diameter is approximately 20% of the length. There is an extremely bright light at the pointed end, and this craft usually travels point down. They can appear to be any shape from round to cylindrical, depending upon the angle of observation. Often sightings of this type of craft are elliptical craft seen at an inclined angle or edge-on. D. Airfoil or triangular shape. This craft is believed to be new technology due to the rarity and recency of the observations. Radar indicates an isosceles triangle profile, the longest side being nearly 300 feet in length. Little is known about the performance of these craft due to the rarity of good sightings, but they are believed capable of high speeds and abrupt maneuvers similar to or exceeding the performance attributed to types A and C. 10. Description of extraterrestrial biological entities, EBEs. Examination of remains recovered from wreckage of UFOBs indicates that extraterrestrial biological entities may be classified into 2 distinct categories as follows. A. EBE Type 1. These entities are humanoid and might be mistaken for human beings or the Oriental race if seen from a distance. They are bipedal, 5 to 5 feet 4 inches in height, and weigh 80 to 100 pounds. Proportionally, they are similar to humans, although the cranium is somewhat larger and more rounded. The skin is a pale, chalky yellow in color, thick, and slightly pebbled in appearance. The eyes are small, wide-set, almond-shaped, with brownish-black irises with very large pupils. The whites of the eyes are not like that of humans, but have a pale gray cast. The ears are small and set low on the skull. The nose is thin and long, and the mouth is wider than in humans and nearly lipless. There is no apparent facial hair and very little body hair, that being very fine and confined to the underarm and the groin area. The body is thin and without apparent body fat, but the muscles are well developed. The hands are small, with 4 long digits, but no opposable thumb. The outside digit is jointed in a manner as to be nearly opposable, and there is no webbing between the fingers as in humans. The legs are slightly but noticeably bowed, and the feet are somewhat splayed and proportionally large. B. EBE Type 2. These entities are humanoid but differ from Type 1 in many respects. They are bipedal, 3 feet 5 inches, to 4 feet 2 inches in height and weigh 25 to 50 pounds. Proportionally, the head is much larger than humans or type 1 EBEs, the cranium being much larger and elongated. The eyes are very large, slanted, and nearly wrapped around the side of the skull. They are black with no whites showing. There is no noticeable brow bridge, and the skull has a slight peak that runs over the crown. The nose consists of 2 small slits which sit high above the slit-like mouth. There are no external ears. The skin is a pale bluish-gray color, being somewhat darker on the back of the creature, and is very smooth and fine-celled. There is no hair on either the face or the body, and these creatures do not appear to be mammalian. The arms are long in proportion to the legs, and the hands have 3 long tapering fingers and a thumb which is nearly as long as the fingers. The second finger is thicker than the others, but not as long as the index finger. The feet are small and narrow, and 4 toes are joined together with a membrane. It is not definitely known whether either type of creature originated, but it seems certain that they did not evolve on Earth. It is further evident, although not certain, that they may have originated on 2 different planets. 11. Description of extraterrestrial technology. The following information is from preliminary analysis reports of wreckage collected from crash sites of extraterrestrial craft 1947 to 1953. Excerpts from which are quoted verbatim to provide guidance as to the type of characteristics of material that might be encountered in future recovery operations. A. Initial analysis of the debris from the crash site seems to indicate that the debris is that of an extraterrestrial craft, which exploded from within and came into contact with the ground with great force, completely destroying the craft. The volume of matter indicates that the craft was approximately the size of a medium aircraft, although the weight of the debris indicates that the craft was extremely light for its size. B. Metallurgical analysis of the bulk of the debris recovered indicates that the samples are not composed of any materials currently known to terrestrial science. C. The material tested possesses great strength and resistance to heat in proportion to its weight and size, being stronger by far than any materials used in military or civilian aircraft at present. D. Much of the material, having the appearance of aluminum foil or aluminum magnesium sheeting, displays none of the characteristics of either metal, resembling instead some kind of unknown plastic-like material. E. Solid structures and substantial beams having a distinct similarity in appearance to very dense, grain-free wood, was very light in weight and possesses tensile and compression strength not attainable by any means known to modern industry. F. None of the material tested displayed measurable magnetic characteristics or residual radiation. G. Several samples were engraved or embossed with marks and patterns. These patterns were not readily identifiable, and attempts to decipher their meaning has been largely unsuccessful. H. Examination of several apparent mechanical devices, gears, etc., revealed little or nothing of their functions or methods of manufacture. Chapter 3. Recovery Operations. Section 1. Security. 12. Press blackout. Great care must be taken to preserve the security of any location where extraterrestrial technology might be retrievable for scientific study. Extreme measures must be taken to protect and preserve any material or craft from discovery, examination, or removal by civilian agencies or individuals of the general public. It is therefore recommended that a total press blackout be initiated whenever possible. If this course of action should not prove feasible, the following cover stories are suggested for release to the press. The officer in charge will act quickly to select the cover story that best fits the situation. It should be remembered when selecting a cover story that official policy regarding UFOBs is that they do not exist. A. Official denial. The most desirable response would be that nothing unusual has occurred. By stating that the government has no knowledge of the event, further investigation by the public press may be forestalled. B. Discredit witnesses. If at all possible, witnesses will be held incommunicado until the extent of their knowledge and involvement can be determined. Witnesses will be discouraged from talking about what they have seen, and intimidation may be necessary to ensure their cooperation. If witnesses have already contacted the press, it will be necessary to discredit their stories. This can best be done by the assertion that they have either misinterpreted natural events or the victims of hysteria or hallucinations, or are the perpetrators of hoaxes. C. Deceptive statements. It may become necessary to issue false statements to preserve the security of the site. Meteors, downed satellites, weather balloons, and military aircraft are all acceptable alternatives, although in the case of the downed military aircraft statement, care should be exercised not to suggest that the aircraft might be experimental or secret, as this might arouse more curiosity of both the American and the foreign press. Statements issued concerning contamination of the area due to toxic spills from trucks or railroad tankers can also serve to keep unauthorized or undesirable personnel away from the area. 13. Secure the area. The area must be secured as rapidly as possible to keep unauthorized personnel from infiltrating the site. The officer in charge will set up a perimeter and establish a command post inside the perimeter. Personnel allowed on the site will be kept to the absolute minimum necessary to prepare the craft or debris for transport, and will consist of military security forces. Local authorities may be pressed into service or in traffic and crowd control. Under no circumstances will local official or law enforcement personnel be allowed inside the perimeter, and all necessary precautions should be taken to ensure that they do not interfere with the operation. A. Perimeter. It is desirable that sufficient military personnel be utilized to set up a perimeter around the site large enough to keep both unauthorized personnel and the perimeter personnel from seeing the site. Once the site is contained, regular patrols will be set up along the perimeter to ensure complete security, and electronic surveillance will be utilized to augment the patrols. Perimeter personnel will be equipped with hand communication and automatic weapons with live ammunition. Personnel working at the site will carry sidearms. No unauthorized personnel will be allowed into the secured area. B. Command post. Ideally, the command post should be as close to the site as is practical to efficiently coordinate operations. As soon as the command post is operational, contact with the Majestic-12 group will be established via secure communications. C. Area sweep. The site and the surrounding area will be cleared of all unauthorized personnel. Witnesses will be debriefed and detained for further evaluation by MJ-12. Under no circumstances will witnesses be released from custody until their stories have been evaluated by MJ-12 and they have been thoroughly debriefed. D. Situation evaluation. A preliminary evaluation of the situation will be completed and a preliminary report prepared. The MJ-12 group will then be briefed on the situation at the earliest possible opportunity. The MJ-12 group will then make a determination as to whether or not a MJ-12 Red Team or OPNAC team will be dispatched to the area. Section 2. Technology Recovery. 14. Removal and Transport. As soon as communication is established, removal and transport of all material will commence under order from MJ-12. A. Documentation. If the situation permits, care should be taken to document the area with photographs before anything is moved. The area will be checked for radiation and other toxic agents. If the area cannot be kept secure for an extended period of time, all material must be packed and transported as quickly as possible to the nearest secure military facility. This will be accomplished by covered transport using little traveled roads whenever possible. B. Complete or functional craft. Craft are to be approached with extreme caution if they appear functional, as serious injury may result from exposure to radiation and electrical discharges. If the craft is functioning but appears to be abandoned, it may be approached only by specially trained MJ-12 Red Team personnel wearing protective clothing. Any device that seems to be functioning should also be left to MJ-12 Red Team disposal. Complete craft and parts of craft too large to be transported by covered transport will be disassembled, if this can be accomplished easily and quickly. If they must be transported whole or on open flatbed trailers, they will be covered in such a manner as to camouflage their shape. C. Extraterrestrial biological entities. EBEs must be removed to a top security facility as quickly as possible. Great care should be taken to prevent possible contamination by alien biological agents. Dead EBEs should be packed in ice at the earliest opportunity to preserve tissues. Should live EBEs be encountered, they should be taken into custody and removed to a top security facility by ambulance. Every effort should be taken to ensure the EBE's survival. Personnel involvement with EBEs, alive or dead, must be kept to an absolute minimum. See Chapter 5 for more detailed information dealing with EBEs. 15. Cleansing the area. Once all material has been removed from the central area, the immediate area will be thoroughly inspected to make sure that all traces of extraterrestrial technology have been removed. In the case of a crash, the surrounding area will be thoroughly gone over several times to ensure that nothing has been overlooked. The search area involved may vary according to local conditions, at the discretion of the officer in charge. When the officer in charge is satisfied that no further evidence of the event remains at the site, it may be evacuated. 16. Special or unusual conditions. The possibility exists that extraterrestrial craft may land or crash in heavily populated areas, where security cannot be maintained or where large segments of the population and the public press may witness these events. Contingency Plan MJ 1949-04P/78, Top Secret, Eyes Only, should be held in readiness should the need to make a public disclosure become necessary. 17. Extraterrestrial Technology Classification Table. 18. Use of Inventory System. A. The identification is performed as a duty of the officer making an inventory of the extraterrestrial technology or entities with the assistance of MJ Forms 1-006 and 1-007. Instructions for the use of each form appear on the reverse side of the forms. 19. Packaging and packing data. A. Domestic shipment. Individual items are tagged and wrapped in a moisture vapor-proof barrier and heat sealed. They are then placed in a corrugated fiberboard box. The voids within the box are packed thoroughly with a neutral cellulose weighting to prevent movement of the items. The box closure is sealed with gummed craft tape. MJ Form 1-007 is placed in a sealed manila envelope marked Magic-12, access only, and is firmly taped to the top of the box. The box is then cushioned at each corner and at the top and bottom with fiberboard inserts and is placed within a large corrugated fiberboard box. The entire outer box closure is sealed with gummed craft tape. A label is affixed to the outer box bearing the following information: destination, shipping code number, and the warning: Magic-12, access only. B. Overseas shipment. Items are packaged as described above except that a desiccant and humidity indicator are included within the inner corrugated fiberboard box. Next, The box is wrapped in a moisture vapor-proof barrier and heat sealed. Then, packaged items are placed within a second waterproof carton sealed with waterproof tape. This second carton is marked Magic-12 Access Only on all sides and is placed within a water grease-proof lined wooden shipping container. The lining is sealed with waterproof tape, and the wooden shipping container is screwed shut. The shipping container is reinforced further by nailing two 3/4-inch metal caps about 8 inches from each end. Shipping information is then stenciled on the surface of the wooden shipping container. Note: the packaging and packing procedure detailed above applies to non-organic items only. Data for handling, packaging, packing, and shipping of organic matter and non-living entities is provided in Chapter 5, Section 2 of this manual. Chapter 4. Receiving and Handling. Section 1. Handling upon receipt of material. 20. Uncrating, unpacking, and checking. Note: the uncrating, unpacking, and checking procedure for containers marked Magic-12 Access Only will be carried out by personnel with MJ-12 clearance. Containers marked in this manner will be placed in storage in a top security area until such time as authorized personnel are available for these procedures. A. Be very careful when uncrating and unpacking the material. Avoid thrusting tools into the interior of the shipping container. Do not damage the packaging material any more than is absolutely necessary to remove the specimens. These materials may be required for future packaging. Stow the interior packaging material within the shipping container. When uncrating and unpacking the specimens, follow the procedure given in 1 through 11 below. 1. Unpack the specimens in a top security area to prevent access of unauthorized personnel. 2. Cut the metal wires with a suitable cutting tool, or twist them with pliers until the straps crystallize and break. 3. Remove screws from the top of the shipping container with a screwdriver. 4. Cut the tape and seals of the case liner so that the waterproof paper will be damaged as little as possible. 5. Lift out the packaged specimens from the wooden case. 6. Cut the tape which seals the top flaps of the outer cartons. Be careful not to damage the carton. 7. Cut the barrier along the top heat-sealed seam and carefully remove the inner carton. 8. Remove the sealed manila envelope from the top of the inner carton. 9. Open the inner carton and remove the fiber board inserts, desiccant and humidity indicator. 10. Lift out the heat-sealed packaging containing these specimens. Arrange them in an orderly manner for inspection. 11. Place all packaging material in the shipping container for use in future repacking. B. Thoroughly check all items against the shipping documents. Carefully inspect all items for possible damage during shipping or handling. Sort the items according to classification number in preparation for transfer to the designated laboratory or department. Laboratory or department personnel are responsible for transporting items to the designated areas. This will be accomplished as quickly as possible by covered transport escorted by security personnel. Chapter 5. Extraterrestrial Biological Entities. Section 1. Living Organisms. 21. Scope. A. This section deals with encounters with living extraterrestrial biological entities, EBEs. Such encounters fall under the jurisdiction of MJ-12 OPNAC BBS-01 and will be dealt with by this special unit only. This section details the responsibilities of persons or units making the initial contact. 22. General. Any encounter with entities known to be of extraterrestrial origin is to be considered to be a matter of national security and therefore classified top secret. Under no circumstances is the general public or the public press to learn of the existence of these entities. The official government policy is that such creatures do not exist, and that no agency of the federal government is now engaged in any study of extraterrestrials or their artifacts. Any deviation from this stated policy is absolutely forbidden. 23. Encounters. Encounters with EBEs may be classified according to one of the following categories. A. Encounters initiated by EBEs. Possible contact may take place as a result of overtures by the entities themselves. In these instances, it is anticipated that encounters will take place at military installations or other obscure locations selected by mutual agreement. Such meetings would have the advantage of being limited to personnel with appropriate clearance, away from public scrutiny. Although it is not considered very probable, there also exists the possibility that EBEs may land in public spaces without prior notice. In this case, the OPNAC team will formulate cover stories for the press and prepare briefings for the President and the Chiefs of Staff. B. Encounters as the result of downed craft. Contact with survivors of accidents or craft downed by natural events or military action may occur with little or no warning. In these cases, it is important that the initial contact be limited to military personnel to preserve security. Civilian witnesses to the area will be detained and debriefed by MJ-12. Contact with EBEs by military personnel not having MJ-12 or OPNAC clearance is to be strictly limited to action necessary to ensure the availability of the EBEs for study by the OPNAC team. 24. Isolation and custody. A. EBEs will be detained by whatever means are necessary and removed to a secure location as soon as possible. Precautions will be taken by personnel coming in contact with EBEs to minimize the risk of disease as a result of contamination by unknown organisms. If the entities are wearing spacesuits or breathing apparatus of some kind, care should be exercised to prevent damage to these devices. While all efforts should be taken to assure the well-being of the EBEs, they must be isolated from any contact with unauthorized personnel. While it is not clear what provisions or amenities might be required by non-human entities, they should be provided if possible. The officer in charge of the operation will make these determinations, as no guidelines now exist to cover this area. B. Injured or wounded entities will be treated by medical personnel assigned to the OPNAC team. If the team medical personnel are not immediately available, first aid will be administered by medical corps personnel at the initial site. Since little is known about EBE biological functions, aid will be confined to the stopping of bleeding, bandaging of wounds, and splinting of broken limbs. No medications of any kind are to be administered, as the effect of terrestrial medications on non-human biological systems are impossible to predict. As soon as the injuries are considered stabilized, the EBEs will be moved by closed ambulance or other suitable conveyance to a secure location. C. In dealing with any living extraterrestrial biological entity, security is of paramount importance. All other considerations are secondary. Although it is preferable to maintain the physical well-being of any entity, the loss of EBE life is considered acceptable if conditions or delays to preserve that life in any way compromises the security of the operations. D. Once the OPNAC team has taken custody of the EBEs, their care and transportation to designated facilities become the responsibility of OPNAC personnel. Every cooperation will be extended to the team in carrying out duties. OPNAC team personnel will be given top priority at all times, regardless of their apparent rank or status. No person has the authority to interfere with the OPNAC team in the performance of its duties by special direction of the President of the United States. Section 2. Non-living organisms. 25. Scope. Ideally, retrieval for a scientific study of cadavers and other biological remains will be carried out by medical personnel familiar with this type of procedure. Because of security considerations, such collection may need to be done by non-medical personnel. This section will provide guidance for retrieval, preservation, and removal of cadavers and remains in the field. 26. Retrieval and preservation. A. The degree of decomposition of organic remains will vary depending on the length of time the remains have been lying in the open, unprotected, and may be accelerated by both local weather conditions and action by predators. Therefore, biological specimens will be removed from the crash site as quickly as possible to preserve the remains in as good a condition as possible. A photographic record will be made of all remains before they are removed from the site. B. Personnel involved in this type of operation will take all reasonable precautions to minimize physical contact with the cadavers or remains being retrieved. Surgical gloves should be worn, or, if they are not available, wool or leather gloves may be worn provided they are collected for decontamination immediately after use. Shovels and entrenching tools may be employed to handle remains provided caution is exercised to be certain no damage is done to the remains. Remains will be touched with bare hands only if no other means of moving them can be found. All personnel and equipment involved in recovery operations will undergo decontamination procedures immediately after those operations have been completed. C. Remains will be preserved against further decomposition as equipment and conditions permit. Cadavers and remains will be bagged or securely wrapped in waterproof coverings. Tarpaulins or foul weather gear may be used for this purpose if necessary. Remains will be refrigerated or packed with ice if available. All remains will be tagged or labeled and the time and date recorded. Wrapped remains will be placed on stretchers or in sealed containers for immediate removal to a secured facility. D. Small detached pieces and materials scraped from solid surfaces will be put in jars or other small capped containers if available. Containers will be clearly marked as to their contents and the time and date recorded. Containers will be refrigerated or packed with ice as soon as possible and removed to a secure facility. Chapter 6. Guide to UFO Identification. Section 1. UFOB Guide. 27. Follow-up investigations. A UFOB report is worthy of follow-up investigation when it contains information to suggest that positive identification with a well-known phenomenon may be made or when it characterizes an unusual phenomenon. The report should suggest almost immediately, largely by the coherency and clarity of the data, that there is something of identification and/or scientific value. In general, reports which should be given consideration are those which involve several reliable observers, together or separately, and which concern sightings of greater duration than 1/4 minute. Exceptions should be made to this when circumstances attending the report are considered to be extraordinary. Special attention should be given to reports which give promise to a fixed on the position and those reports involving unusual trajectories. 28. Rules of thumb. Each UFOB case should be judged individually, but there are a number of rules of thumb under each of the following headings which should prove helpful in determining the necessity for follow-up investigation. A. Duration of sighting. When the duration of a sighting is less than 15 seconds, the probabilities are great that it is not worthy of follow-up. As a word of caution, however, should a large number of individual observers concur on an unusual sighting of a few seconds' duration, it should not be dismissed. B. Number of persons reporting the sighting. Short-duration sightings by single individuals are seldom worthy of follow-up. 2 or 3 competent independent observations carry the weight of 10 or more simultaneous individual observations. As an example, 25 people at one spot may observe a strange light in the sky. This, however, has less weight than 2 reliable people observing the same light from different locations. In the latter case, a position fix is indicated. C. Distance from location of sightings to nearest field unit. Reports which meet the preliminary criterion stated above should all be investigated if their occurrence is in the immediate operating vicinity of the squadron concerned. For reports involving greater distances, follow-up necessity might be judged as being inversely proportional to the square of the distances concerned. For example, an occurrence 150 miles away might be considered to have 4 times the importance, other things being equal, than one that is 300 miles away. D. Reliability of person or persons reporting. In establishing the necessity of follow-up investigation, only short-term reliability of individuals can be employed. Short-term reliability is judged from the logic and coherency of the original report and the age and occupation of the person. Particular attention should be given to whether the occupation involves observation reporting or technical knowledge. E. Number of individual sightings reported. 2 completely individual sightings, especially when separated by a mile or more, constitute sufficient cause for follow-up, assuming previous criterion have not been violated. F. The value of obtaining additional information immediately. If the information cannot be obtained within 7 days, the value of such information is greatly decreased. It is of great value to obtain additional information immediately if previously stated criteria have been met. Often, if gathered quickly, 2 or 3 items, weather conditions, angular speed, changes in trajectory, duration, etc., are sufficient for immediate evaluation. If investigation is undertaken after weeks or months, the original observer ceases to be of value as far as additional new information is concerned. Generally, late interrogation yields only bare repetition of facts originally reported plus an inability on the part of the observer to be objective. G. Existence of physical evidence, photographs, material, hardware. In cases where any physical evidence exists, a follow-up should be made even if some of the above criteria have not been met. 29. Conclusion. UFOB Guide. It is understood that all above criteria must be evaluated in terms of common sense. The original report, from its working and clarity, will almost always suggest to the reader whether there is any pay dirt in the report. Section 2. Identification Criteria. 30. General. When a UFO report meets, in large measure, the criteria projected in Section 1 and a follow-up investigation is instituted, then the interrogator should ask what physical object or objects might have served as the original stimulus for the report. The word object here includes optical phenomena, such as reflections from clouds, sundogs, etc. Frequently, 1 or perhaps 2 solutions will be immediately suggested by the nature of the report. The word solution cannot be used here in the scientific case. A solution in UFOB work means that a hypothesis has been arrived at which appeared to have the greatest probability of having given rise to the given report. Following is a group of hypotheses or examples which should prove helpful in arriving at solutions. A check should be made to see how many of the items are satisfied by the report and how many are missing. An effort should be made to obtain any missing items as soon as possible. Each typical hypothesis is listed in a separate paragraph. 31. Aircraft. A. Shape. From conventional to circular or elliptical. B. Size. Pinpoint to actual. C. Color. Silver to bright yellow. Night. black or color of lights. D. Speed. Generally, only angular speeds can be observed. This depends on distance, but small objects crossing major portion of sky in less than a minute can be ruled out. Aircraft will not cross major portion of the sky in less than a minute, whereas a meteor certainly will. E. Formation. 2 to 20. Numbers greater than 20 more likely birds than aircraft. F. Trails. May or may not have vapor and exhaust. G. Sound. 0 to loud, shrill, or low depending on altitude. H. Course. Steady, straight, or gently curving. Not erratic, may appear still if approaching head-on. Right-angled turns and sudden reversals, changes in altitude ruled out. Note, although report may indicate erratic course, if other items checked, follow-up should proceed on basis of aircraft because of psychological tendencies of excited people to exaggerate course changes. I. Time and sight. More than 15 seconds, generally of the order of a minute or two. J. Lighting conditions, night or day. K. Radar. Should show normal aircraft returns. 32. Balloons. A. Shape, round to cigar or pinpoint. B. Size. Balloons up to 100 feet will generally appear from pinpoint to size of a pea held at arm length. C. Color, silver, white, or many tints. It may be possibly appear dark as when projected against the clouds. D. Speed. Large-scale erratic speed ruled out. In general, hovering to slow apparent speed. E. Formation. Single to cluster. F. Trail. None. G. Sound. None. H. Course. Straight with a general gradient ascent, unless falling. I. Time and sight. Generally long. Note, balloons may suddenly burst and disappear. J. Lighting conditions. Night or day, but especially at sunset. K. Radar. No return except when carrying sonda equipment. 33. Meteor. A. Shape. Round to elongated. B. Size. Pinpoint to size of moon. C. Color. Flaming yellow with red, green, or blue possible. D. Speed. Crosses large portion of sky in few seconds except if coming head-on. E. Formation. Generally single. Can break into shower at end of trajectory. Occasionally, but rare small groups. F. Trail. At night almost always a luminous train which can persist as long as a half hour, rarely. Daytime meteors are much less frequently observed, and daytime leaves a whitish to dark smoke trail. G. Sound. None, although occasionally reported, believed psychological. H. Course. Generally streaking downward, but not necessarily sharply downward, can on rare occasion give impression of slight rise. I. Time and sight. Longest report about 30 seconds, generally less than 10. J. Lighting conditions. Day or night, mostly night. K. Radar. Return from meteor itself is highly improbable. However, the train left by a meteor is a good radar reflector. I. Other. An exceptionally bright meteor is called a fireball. There are rare but extremely spectacular, and on occasion have been known to light surroundings to the brightness of daylight. 34. Stars or planets. The planets, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, are generally brighter than any star, but they twinkle very much less, unless very close to horizon. Stars twinkle a great deal, and when the new horizon can give impression of flashing light in many colors. A. Shape. Pinpoint, starlight. B. Size, never appreciable. C. Color, yellow with rainbow variations. D. Speed. Stars' apparent speeds carry them from east to west in the course of the night, but they are often reported as erratic. The effect is psychological, most people being unable to consider a point as being stationary. Occasionally, turbulence in the upper atmosphere can cause a star to appear to jump. Rare, but somehow twinkling gives the impression of movement to many people. Note, just because the report says the light moves does not rule out the possibility of it being a star, unless motion is from one part of the sky to another relatively short time. E. Formation. There are no clusters of very bright stars, but faint stars are grouped in their familiar constellation. Note, a report of 4 or 5 bright clustering lights would rule out stars. F. Trail, none. G. Sound, none. H. Course, always describe 24-hour cycle around pole of sky from east to west. I. Time and sight. When clear, stars are always visible. Most star rise are set during the course of the night. Stars low in western skies set within an hour or two. Stars in east always go higher in sky. J. Lighting conditions, night, twilight. K. Radar, none. 35. Optical phenomena. This can cover a multitude of things. Original scanning of the report should be made to attempt to determine whether it more likely describes a material object or an optical phenomenon. Optical phenomenon, which have been reported as UFOBs, run from reflections on clouds and layers of ice crystals, sundogs, to the many types of mirages. No one set of optical phenomenon can be set down as representation for the whole class. There is no limit to the speed of optical phenomena. Reflections can travel from incredible speed, as in the case of a search beacon on high clouds, to stationary. These cases, if well reported, will almost always warrant follow-up. Their variety in connection with upper atmospheric conditions make these observations especially valuable scientifically. A. Shape, generally round, but can be elliptical or linear. B. Size, star-like to large luminous glow. C. Color, generally yellow. D. Speed, stationary to fantastic. E. Formation, any. F. Trail, none. G. Sound, none. H. Course, any. I. Time and sight, any. J. Lighting conditions, day and night. K. Radar, no return. In special cases, radar response will occasionally have to do with unusual clouds and meteorological phenomena such as described in Menard's book, Light and Color in the Open Air. I. Other. One of the standard types is the sundog. In this, a large luminous halo is seen around the sun with 1 to 4 images of the sun placed along the halo circle at intervals of 90 degrees. Another report often has to do with a bright planet, or even the moon shining through a light overcast. Mirages reflections are said to occur frequently when temperature inversions exit in the atmosphere. If an optical phenomenon is suspected, routine check of the meteorological records should be made to establish whether such inversions existed.